Alrighty, welcome guys. We have a pretty crazy, seven game slate to go over. Hope you guys are having a good Monday so far. Obviously got a birthday in the chat. Happy birthday, Paul. Hoping to get you a takedown as well. So if you guys are new to the channel, new to the live stream, how this works is we'll take a look at what we know so far. There's just a ton to go over. And there's still some news we're waiting on. Now, the good thing is every single game besides that Phoenix game locks at 6 Central or 7 Eastern. So we should have all this news really soon. We've already got some news, right? Van Fleet out, Porzingis out. We're still waiting on Beal. We're still waiting on a couple other pieces of news. We're still waiting on Pistons starting lineup, right? So let's just I'll go really quick over what we know. Rui out. Justin Jackson waived by the Thunder. Originally, the Thunder were going to have 8 healthy bodies, but that is not true anymore. Now it's going to be a 10-man rotation. We'll get to that in a sec. Let's see. John Wall ruled out. Not much there. Some of these secondary guys for the Nets ruled out. Doesn't do much for me. Got a couple 10-day contracts for the Thunder. D'Lo surprisingly in. D'Angelo Russell's in. Did not see that one coming. So that obviously does change things a little bit here. And let me refresh. Okay, let's go back a little bit. So, yeah, Fred VanVleet out. Malachi Flynn expected to start for him as we thought. D'Angelo Russell will play off the bench and have a pretty limited minutes limit. So what, a lock for 35 minutes based on what we've seen so far this season, right? Thunder are starting who I thought they would with Maladon, Svi, Pokusevski, Kenrich Williams, and Moses Brown. Porzingis just got ruled out. Kevin Love still on a minutes limit. We have no idea what that is. Brad Beal, game time decision. And I think that's what we got so far. Oh, wow, Malik Beasley out 46 weeks. All right, so this is just going to be one of those slates where we have to, keep an eye on that news for sure. All right, so let's start it off with New York and Brooklyn. On the New York side, I do like Julius Randle. I do think he goes overlooked in the slate. Really good matchup, and I don't know if you guys recall the last game against the Nets. I forget what happened exactly, but the Knicks kind of got screwed on a call or something. It went to overtime, and the Nets ended up winning. I think Randle's going overlooked in the slate. I do like him, though. Again, I do like him as a spend up. I think he's actually a safer spend up with some upside. So Randle, don't cross him off. I do like Julius Randle. The rest of the Knicks, not much here, even in an up-tempo game. If I had to pick someone, I think it would be Derrick Rose at 4.8, who besides that last game, when it was a blowout, 25, 26, 29 minutes. I'm expecting somewhere around 25 to 30. He's below 5K. We know he can score the ball, so I do have a little bit of interest there in Derrick Rose for value. On the Nets, so Harden back, no Durant. It's tricky because I just don't like this matchup. So Harden and Kyrie are in play at the top. I would say more contrarian plays. There's no limit for Harden. So if I had to pick one, might lean Harden over Kyrie, but neither a priority for me on this slate. Aldridge, no thanks. Joe Harris, absolutely not. There's not much else here. Not much else in the Nets. Moving on to Utah and Dallas. Another team I have pretty little interest in, the Utah Jazz. Basically just crossing this team off. I have no interest. On the Dallas side, we need to see the starting lineup. But Luka Doncic, I do like at the top. He's been not great recently. That's going to lower the ownership. He's been involved in some blowouts here. Luka's still Luka, right? He's not changed. He's still got 70, 80 fancy point upside. You can play him at the small forward position. Small forward is really weak today on Draftkings. It's weak. Small forward and shooting guard. For that reason, I do have interest in Luka. Again, I like him a lot as a contrarian spend up that I think will go overlooked. Now, with no Porzingis, I'm curious to see who they end up starting. If for some reason they do start Boban, then I think you could take a shot on him at 3.8K. He's a good point per minute guy, but honestly, not a ton else I like on Dallas. Jay Rich in. All right, so Washington, Toronto. Do we have Beal news yet? It's still a game time decision from last time we refreshed. So we can circle back once we get that news. But Yeah, assuming Brad Beal's out, I think Russell Westbrook's one of the best backups of the slate, just because we know the upside is insane with him. He'll play 35 to 40 minutes, so would really like Westbrook at the top. We already know Rui's out. I just really don't want to deal with these secondary Washington pieces. It's always a headache. Denny will probably play 35 minutes, but he seems priced about right. The center rotation is just, Robin Lopez has been good recently. I'm not paying 4-5 for him. Ish Smith's at 3-9. If he wasn't only point guard eligible, I'd have a little more interest, but point guard is just so loaded today that's like, I cannot, play Ish Smith over some of the other good point guard plays in the slate. Neto's at 3-8. I mean, I guess you can play him, right? Bertan started the last game. He played 20 minutes. It's just like, there's no one I really like. If you land on someone, that's fine, but I just really dislike this team. All right, moving on to Toronto. So we did get the big news. Van Fleet is out. We already know Lowry's out. So, I mean, pretty clear what you do, right? You don't fade Malachi Flynn at 3-5 starting a point guard. They have like no other guard. So love Flynn. I think Siakam, OG Anunoby, also two of the best plays this slate. Great matchup here. Siakam gets a massive boost. Love Siakam. And I do like OG too. Has been phenomenal recently. Those two also two of the best plays this slate. You guys know my feelings on Gary Trent. He's super reliant in the scoring. He's been shooting the ball well recently. He'll play the minutes. Whether or not he gets there depends on if he shoots well. I played him when he was chalk against Portland. He shot 2 of 10 and went for 15 fantasy points. So that is a realistic possibility with Gary Trent, which, makes him more just suited for tournaments. Chris Boucher, if he starts again, I am more confident in him. If he starts, I think we get mid-20s minutes at least from Boucher. He's a great point per minute guy, so would like Boucher if he starts. Now, value, Aaron Baines at 3-3. Washington will run two traditional, they'll have a traditional center out there, whether it be Len or Lopez most of the game. I guess you could take a shot on Baines. Would like him a little more if he starts. Guys like Bembry, Stanley Johnson, intriguing plays here. They're really thin. Like, Toronto is thin. I think these guys hover around the 20-minute mark. Bembry's at 3-1. He's played 21 and 20 minutes. I know some of those games are blowouts, right? But, they just don't have a lot of healthy bodies now with Van Fleet out, too. So it's I could see these two, wings getting around 20 minutes. Both viable dart throws. If for some reason one of those guys start, then would like them a lot more. But that's what I got for Toronto. All right, where are we at here? We're 3 games up, 3 games down. If you guys could hit that like button, it helps me out a lot. Where are we at with that? We're at almost 300 viewers and 45 likes. If we get to 100 before the end of the show, that's always what I aim for. So appreciate that, guys. All right, so let's move on to Cleveland, San Antonio. This one will be pretty quick. There's really not much on Cleveland. No interest really in the guards. Love, still on the minutes limit. Probably plays mid-20s minutes. Viable, but I think there's better plays in the slate. Absolutely not in Dean Wade. Hardenstein lost minutes last game. Good point per guy, but a guy that's always in foul trouble. Torian Prince has gotten, 21, 32 minutes last couple games. You can take a shot there and hope he plays 30 minutes, but I would not be surprised if he plays under 20 minutes, right? So just, Cleveland's just an ugly team. On the Spurs side, not a ton else. These guys are all filler options for me. DeRozan's a safer play. Should play mid-30s minutes as their number one on offense. Murray and White, fine tournament plays. I think Pirtle's actually a pretty safe play, too. The issue is just he's center, right? We have Cat. We have Isaiah Stewart. We have a couple other centers that are on the slate that it's hard to prioritize a guy like Jakob Pirtle, which just makes him, in my opinion, a contrarian play. All right, Detroit, OKC. So Detroit, before, when I was making the video, we didn't get that news that Mason Plumlee was out. So with him being out, assuming Isaiah Stewart starts, I think he's one of the best values in the slate, right? The Detroit has no other centers. They don't. Jahlil Okafor is still out. So Rubio's in too. I mean, come on, right? I mean, come on. I just feel like this NBA season, coaches just troll us. So this has been the season where it's just these guys are both doubtful and now they're both in. There's just been so many times, even the last couple of weeks, guys ruled out after lock, they end up playing. I mean, you can't make some of this stuff up. Rubio in now. Just so frustrating. So frustrating. But we'll talk about that in a sec. Does make McLaughlin now not completely out of play. I was still on McLaughlin with the D'Lo news. Now with the Rubio news too. Got to keep an eye on what his minutes limit is. It's just going to be a headache. But yeah, so Mason Plumlee out. Again, Isaiah Stewart, assuming he starts, a clear value. Now, I don't even know who's going to play the backup 5. Like, what is a Tyler Cook? What is Tyler Cook, right? Does he play backup 5? Maybe. Do they run like a little smaller and go Sekou at the 5? I don't know. I think trying to figure that out and take a shot there is getting a little bit too contrarian. I think Stewart's the guy you look to, assuming he starts. And Detroit just still has so many guys they're using. Diallo, it is a revenge game. I think he'll play somewhere around 20 to 25 minutes. I think he's a viable tournament play. Not going to play the huge minutes. Again, revenge game narrative. That's really it. Detroit just, again, they're going to run like a 12-man rotation here. On the OKC side. So, OKC was a team originally I was really high on. Like, this is a team I was going to get a good amount of exposure to, with that being an 8-man rotation. Well, it's no longer an 8-man rotation. It's a 10-man rotation. And the two new additions they signed today are going to play. So that makes everyone way riskier. Like, before that news, Maledon, Pokusevski, Kenrich Williams, Ty Jerome, Tony Bradley were some of the best plays of the slate. Now they're not out of play, but they're a lot riskier with it being a 10-man rotation. Now, those two new additions are not on the slate, so you can't play them. Start at the top, Moses Brown, no. With all the good center plays in the slate, I'll not be going there. I think Maledon's still in play. I think he'll play around 30-ish minutes. He's had some upside, but he's also had some pretty floor games, so a viable play still. Let's see, we got Beal news, you guys said. I don't see the Beal news yet. All right, so Maledon, definitely in play. Pokusevski will play more at the 4. I think it's a slight boost to him. I think he's still viable too. Like, these starters, I'm expecting around 30-ish minutes. So, like, they're not out of play. I just say downgrade them with those two new guys playing. I'm not looking to speed, 2-score independent. Kenrich Williams, I think, is still viable too. So, like, I think the guys I'm really looking to, like Kenrich, Pokusevski, and Maledon in the starting lineup. With Tony Bradley at 3-5, he's played a little bit more last couple games. Now, that wasn't just because of the blowouts, too. If you watch the game logs there, Moses Brown actually closed those games. So he came back in. So it looks like it might be a pretty even split at the center position, which does make Tony Bradley still in play. Now, does he lose some minutes with some of those new additions coming, right? I'm not exactly sure. So again, a little bit more risk. Jerome was a guy I was actually pretty high on before we got that news. I was thinking we would get 25 to 30 minutes from him and shooting guards week. Now, not as much. Right now, he might only play like 20-ish minutes, which makes him, again, a lot riskier. It's just the headache that they ended up, those guys, two new additions are playing. Now, moving on to Sacramento, Minnesota. This is a game I like. We'll talk, the Minnesota side is kind of a headache now, but on the Sacramento side, it's pretty clear. It's Fox at the top that's going to go overlooked, in my opinion. I think he is. I really like him. I really like the Fox-Cat pairing in tournaments. Up-tempo game. Again, we know these teams play fast. They play like no defense. And both teams, before the Minnesota news, had pretty tight rotations. So Fox I still like. I think Holmes is also going overlooked in this slate for tournaments. Now, he's lost minutes last couple games. I'm not super worried about it, though, because, this is a big team against Minnesota. As long as he stays out of foul trouble, I think we'll get mid-30s minutes. Now, Whiteside is in, but I don't think Whiteside's going to eat into Holmes' minutes much. Basically, what I'm saying is Holmes is a fine tournament play. Not someone I would touch in cash games because of the foul trouble concerns, and he's going up against Cat, which I think increases the chance that he gets in some foul trouble. Halliburton, Barnes, Hield in the mid-range. All fine filler plays, no priority plays for me. But again, like small forward, shooting guard are weak. Like if you land in like a Halliburton there, like a Hield, that's all right. Again, Whiteside is in. I think he probably plays about 15 minutes off the bench. You could take a shot on him as a contrarian center play because he's a good point per minute guy. Last guy I'll mention is Terence Davis at 3-6, 21, 22, 23 minutes the last 3 games. What we know with Terence Davis is he's not afraid to shoot the ball like we saw the last game. We went for 38 fantasy points, 27 real-life points. We're probably not going to get that again, but I could see taking a shot at him again. He is small, shooting guard and small forward eligible. It's like 2 of the weakest positions right now on Draftkings. So for that reason, I think he's in play. On the Minnesota side, it's just why? why does D'Lo and now Rubio have to play, right? It was so easy. We go McLaughlin, we go Cat, consider some other guys. I don't know. Do we have a minutes limit on Rubio? I'm not sure if that's like announced yet. So it's just hard to say right now. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what the starting lineup is. We don't know if Rubio's on a minutes limit. So my analysis was, before we got the Rubio and D'Lo news, was you play McLaughlin for sure. He's the best value on the slate. Now, I just need to see what Rubio news is. Is he on a minutes limit? Is he starting? If Rubio and D'Lo are both on a strict minutes limit, then I still think you can get to McLaughlin assuming he starts. Now, we were not going to get 42 minutes again, but I would think we would probably still get around 30-ish minutes in an up-tempo game. So I still have some interest in McLaughlin, but it just depends on the starting lineup. It depends on Rubio news, right? So it's a little bit hard to say right now. McDaniel's role doesn't change much. I think he's still going to play mid-30s minutes. Again, he's a guy that is a safer option, I think, with some upside. Again, I do like Cat a lot at the top. Played 44 minutes. We're probably not going to get 44 minutes again from him, but I think around 35 to 40. I think he's a really good spend up. Edwards, slight downgrade of D'Lo and Rubio in. Still a viable tournament play, though. Still a guy that's not afraid to shoot the ball. I'm not getting to D'Lo with him barely playing, they said. Rubio, keep an eye on that news. Naz Reid at 3-3. If you need like a super, super cheap guy, I think you could do worse. 15, 23, 18 minutes last 3 games. He's actually a decent point per minute guy if you need just like a dart throw there. All right. Do we have any more news? The Minnesota stuff just really throws a wrench into things. All right. So let's finish it up with Phoenix and Houston. This one will be pretty quick. I have pretty much no interest in this game. On the Phoenix side, Booker, Paul, Ayton. It's an up-tempo game. I'm a little bit worried about the blowout. But, yeah, all those guys I think are secondary options. Crowder, fine, but again, secondary option. If you think the game blows out, I think you could look to a guy like Cam Johnson, who might get extended a bit. But really, there's just not a ton here on the Houston side. No John Wall. Wood is a viable contrarian spend up, but I'm not really considering him. Kevin Porter Jr. had like 30 turnovers for me last night. A tougher matchup here. Kelly Olynyk started the second half with no Daniel House. If he starts again, I think Kelly would probably be the guy. He's still had a good game, even playing more at the 4. So Olynyk would be the guy to look to there in Houston. Like other viable value guys, Sterling Brown will play around 25 to 30 minutes, sure, in play. I've mentioned DJ Augustine a lot. He continues to usually get around 25-ish fancy points. I think he's someone you could look to as a viable punt. The issue is he's only point guard eligible, right? We have Malachi Flynn at the same position that just looks a lot better. Bradley will get minutes, but he's super reliant on scoring. So that's what I got for the breakdown, guys. Yeah, this is a tricky one. Hopefully we should get some clarity on some of the stuff soon with like Rubio and other starting lineup news. Like, is Rubio on a minutes limit? That is really important. So yeah, best value. I mean, Malachi Flynn, right? You don't get away from Flynn. You don't get away from Stewart, assuming he starts. Stewart for sure. Like the only way I'm taking a shot on Boban is if he starts. I don't know if Boban starts. For Toronto guys tonight, that's going to be fun. I think Toronto's a team I like a good amount. And yeah, Thomas, I'm going to have updated player pool there once I leave here and go to the Patreon live stream. So I'll make an update there. Phoenix blowout, Craig. Not really looking to Craig. Westbrook if Beal's out or Siakam. I mean, they're 2 different positions and 2 different prices. I think you get to both, to be honest. I think they're 2 of the better. Like if Beal's out, Westbrook looks amazing. Siakam's already a really good play. OG or Kevin Porter Jr., it's OG. Yeah, I think 4 Raptors is fine. Raptors are a team I like a lot. The up-tempo game, they're shorthanded. I think you're going to want at least a couple Raptors, in my opinion. Westbrook, Luka, or Fox in a GPP. Right now, I'll say Fox, but if Beal's out, it's Westbrook's a scary fade. Is Siakam must play? No, he's not a must play, but I will say I would play at least one more guy besides Malachi Flynn on the Raptors. So if you're not playing Siakam, play like an OG or take a shot on Boucher, or maybe you take a dart in one of those wings that are like min price. If you're not playing Siakam, I would still get at least one more guy besides Flynn. Yeah, Siakam or Randall. I'll take Siakam for the discount. Harden, Kenrich, Luka, Siakam, Stewart, Flynn, Reed, and Bradley. It's pretty contrarian. Like Harden and Luka are definitely, in my opinion, contrarian spend-ups. Kenrich is fine still. The OKC guys are all kind of just filler options. And then you're taking some risk with some of those value guys. Like Naz Reed, I would say, is a pretty risky play. Bradley, I get. And then you have the chalk value of Stewart and Flynn. Harden, a sure lock tonight? No. Harden's not a lock. Not against the Knicks. Bertans or Terence Davis? Probably Davis. Best value other than Stewart and Flynn? I don't have an answer for that right now. I need to see some starting lineup news. Right. If Rubio, we already know D'Lo's going to be really limited. If Rubio's going to be really limited too, then I still think you get to McLaughlin. But that just depends on that. Yeah, I like Westbrook and Cat. I think that's a good pairing for cash. Jeremy Grant, not much interest, to be honest. So I will say, like, the starters besides really Moses Brown and Svi, so like Kenrich, Pokusevski, and Maladon are fine plays. I'm not super excited about them now. Like, I liked them a lot more when it was an 8-man rotation. It's a 10-man rotation now. Diallo or Trent? I think you got to go Trent because of the minutes, even though I don't like playing Gary Trent. Yeah, Cat or Siakam, love both. Love both tonight. I think the two of the optimal spend-ups in my opinion. If I had to pick one, I guess Siakam for the discount, because we also have D'Lo and Rubio and maybe a slight downgrade to Cat, but I like both a lot. I wouldn't play Darius Miller, so Terence Davis. But Terence Davis is not a guy I feel super confident in, right? He's a guy that should get close to 20 minutes. The good thing is he's going to get shot attempts up, but like, I don't love the play. Yeah, so Jeff Green or Kenrich? Definitely Kenrich. I'm not really looking at Jeff Green. I think you can take a shot in Boucher, especially if he starts. I think Boucher is a good tournament play. Yep, Davis there. Yeah, so McLaughlin, again, keep an eye on Rubio, right? If Rubio's starting and there's no limit for Rubio, then I'm off McLaughlin. If McLaughlin's still starting and they're limiting Rubio and D'Lo off the bench, then I think you could still get to him. He's not going to play 40-plus minutes. I would think he gets somewhere around the 30-minute mark. Randall or DeRozan? Randall. Siakam, Randall, again, Siakam for the discount there. Yep, I think getting Raptors exposure is the way to go for sure. Yeah, again, so you're taking some risks there. I think Harden and Luka are contrarian spend-ups. They're going to differentiate your build. I don't think that's the optimal build. If you want to go to more of the optimal cash game build, I think you're going to want some Toronto exposure, probably Westbrook if Beal's out, and maybe look to Cat. Like, those are the spend-ups you want to go to, in my opinion, if Beal's out. Yeah, so top 3 spend-ups, it depends. We're still waiting on some news, right? So, like, optimal build-wise, cash game-wise, Westbrook, Towns, Siakam are probably the guys you look to. GPPs, though, again, so some people are getting to Harden, some people are getting to Luka. Again, I like Luka as a contrarian play. He'll go overlooked. He's also small forward eligible. I think Randall's also a guy you can look to that is going a little bit lower owned. Fox, too, but point guard is loaded, so... Why is that? He's not a lock. Isaiah Stewart's not a lock. Assuming he starts, though, I think he's a pretty good value. Naz or Baines? Baines if he starts. But, again, that's the center spot you're using. Center's loaded. Wade or Love? Definitely Love. D. Rose, he would be the... Besides Randall, he'd be the second guy in for me. I think he plays mid-20s minutes. Yeah, okay, so Beal's out. All right. So that kind of clarifies some things for me in the direction I want to go. I'm still waiting to build my lineup because I needed that news. DeJounte Murray also out. The fun never ends. The fun never ends here. Let's just continue to throw curveballs. Maybe rule out Westbrook too. Why not, right? Who cares? Just rule everyone out. And the guys that are out, rule them back in, right? Let's get Porzingis in. Let's get Luka out. Let's just really, really mix and match. And just, who cares, right? Injury reporting, it doesn't matter. Do we have anything else here? All right, so Beal out. Westbrook at the top looks great. Sorry, I had to rant a little bit. All right, so DeJounte Murray out. That now changes things for the Spurs. I think Derek White looks like a pretty good option in the mid-range. I think he's going to play mid-30s minutes. I think he's going to play mid-30s minutes. I think Patty Mills is now intriguing at 4.3. Yeah, I'm curious to see who they end up starting now. No DeJounte Murray. DeRozan obviously gets a boost. I have more interest in these Spurs guys now. Neto is starting too. Okay. Gorgie Jang available to play. So Neto's starting for Beal. All right. I think Neto is now a good value, in my opinion. Where is Raul Neto? Right, he's shooting guard eligible too, which is really nice. He's 3.8K. He played 32 minutes the last game. I think Raul Neto is actually now a pretty good value play. Like, will we get 32 minutes again? I'm not sure. But with him starting, I think minutes are at least, I would say, 20 to 25. So Neto is now a guy I'm looking to. Again, back to the Spurs. I need to see what they do with the starting lineup, but Derek White, Patty Mills, DeRozan, do they start Patty Mills? Do they throw a guy like Devin Vassell in the lineup? I'm not sure. So possibly some more value there with the Spurs. Yeah, that DeJounte Murray news changes things. It does, right? It definitely, the Spurs were a team I was kind of just like, filler guys. Now it's a little bit different. Now it's more interest in the Spurs. I still think the optimal build is probably that stars and scrubs, right? So we got Westbrook, we got Cat, maybe one of those Toronto guys. I think that's still the optimal build. So don't go crazy and just like, you see DeJounte Murray out, you need like 2 Spurs. No, I don't think you have to do that. I do, though, think it makes them more interesting and more playable. God, I just knew this stuff was going to happen, right? And this is why I save my build to the end, because I'm just like, the NBA recently, there's so much just like random news that like guys are out and then in, and surprise late scratches. All right, we have about 5 minutes until 5 minutes until to get out of here. Small forwards, let's see. Yeah, so small forwards, again, a little bit weak. I like Luka as contrarian spend up at the top. I think DeRozan is now in play. Edwards for tournaments. Like, you can go to Gary Trent. He's super reliant on scoring, though. Mid-range, Pokashevsky, I still think is viable. Again, he gets a little bit of a boost playing the 4. I think he looks pretty decent. Kenrich still in play, too. So those OKC guys are fine filler plays. No priorities, though. I guess you can go to Denny. I just really do not like playing Denny because he's burned me a few times. I know you got to have short-term memory, but... And then, like, cheap-wise... right? You could take a shot in Terence Davis, probably 20-ish minutes. Maybe you take a dart in Cam Johnson, hope for the blowout. I mean, does Devin Vassell possibly start here? Maybe. So, like, there's no, like, standouts for me at small forward, right? It's kind of just, like, the last piece in. Keldon boost. Yeah, I mean, basically everyone on San Antonio gets a boost. He's at 5.5. I really dislike playing Keldon Johnson because literally he just has such a low floor. The ceiling is there, so it's like you can take a shot in for tournaments, but he's just so up and down. Taurean Prince, I'm not convinced about his minutes. He did play over 30 the last game. Previous game before that, though, like 18, 21 minutes. Yes, he's in play too. A lot of guys are saying I just like in play. Bembry, if Bembry starts, I think he's a lot more viable. I would think like Bembry and Stanley hover around the 15 to 20 minute mark. Westbrook and Patty or White and Siakam? That's a good question. I think I'll go the first one. Pop started a cotton candy vendor. Again, and with this news now, like I know Popovich is going to troll us and just play some random off the bench. And it's just like whatever you think is going to be the starting lineup, it's not. This is going to be a stressful last 30 minutes. Yeah, Davis or Neto? I think I'm going to lean Neto now with him starting. I think I'll lean Neto. Kenrich or Pokusevski? Give me Poco. That's a close one, though. That is close. I think both still probably around 30. DK, shooting guard 4.3K and below if you had to pick one. Yeah, I think it would be Neto with him starting now. Or Patty Mills. That might lean Patty with no DeJounte Murray. It might be a lean to Patty Mills there, but it's close. Him or Neto, I think, are the two guys we'll look to. Would you fade Westbrook? You can do it. It's 7 games. It's a risky fade, I will say for sure. Risky fade. Boban interest only if he starts. Do I just fade the Spurs to avoid getting popped? Yeah, you don't have to play a Spur. I still don't think like you have to play a Spur. DeRozan or Fox? Fox still there. Shooting guard in the mid-range. Yeah, let's see. Not a ton I like, to be honest. I think Derek White looks like a decent play. I think Halliburton looks like a decent play. You can go Gary Trent. He's going to get a ton of shots up. He just has to hit his shots to get value. So like those 3, I guess. I don't love any of them, though. But like those 3. White, Halliburton, Gary Trent Jr. Mills or Terence Davis? Mills. Yeah, Mills with the DeJounte Murray news, Mills. Poco over Diallo for me. Neto or Mills? Yeah, Mills, I think. Flynn, Neto, Kenrich, Siakam, Stewart. Yeah, I like that. I like the build a lot. Best forward, 4K and below. All right. This is the last question because then I got to go update some stuff for Patreon members. So, forward, 4K and below. Yeah, right, ugly. I will never play Okoro. No one Osman. No one TLC. I guess it's Torian Prince by default. And this is not one I'm excited about because he could still play like 20 minutes. But probably him, or you take a shot on Davis off the bench for like 20 minutes. It's gross. But that's it. All right, let me refresh one more time, and then I'll call it a day. Apologize, guys, because I gotta update some stuff for Patreon here. So that's gonna do it. Good luck to everyone. Gonna be a crazy slate. We're still waiting on a couple pieces of news where we get the Pistons starting lineup. Keep an eye on the Spurs starting lineup. Maybe value there. So yeah, keep an eye on that news. Good luck to everyone. Crazy one. I'll be back here tomorrow for another stream. So I'll see you guys then.